Sixers had a pretty good comeback against the Pacers. We'll break it down next. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It is great to be here with all of you today. It is Monday, February 1st, 2021. We are in the second month of 2021. As always, joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony. We've had a very interesting weekend in Philadelphia. We've had a very interesting weekend in sports as a whole. We got Deshaun Watson doubling down on his trade request. We have the organization saying they have no interest in trading him. We have Gavin's probably least favorite quarterback in the league going from one of the better franchises to probably the worst franchise. And then we have one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time going to a franchise that might be committed to winning around him. Phillies re-signed JT. We broke that news on Friday. Didi Gregorius, Gavin, who had also said we lost out on the Lindor sweepstakes. We get to bring Didi back. I'm happy with that prize as long as they get some more pitching based around it. But first of all, Gavin, how are you doing today?
Zach, I'm doing great. It's cold outside, ladies and gentlemen. And for those who may not know, my room is like a loft, so it gets cold up here quickly. My heater's too loud. So, Zach, we're going to be freezing. So I got some freezing cold takes for a freezing cold show. But, Zach, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I mean, look, very interesting weekend to say the least all around the sports world. The Pro Bowl events, to an extent, happened this weekend. I didn't really watch anything live. Just a couple clips from the games. Of course, as Gavin pointed out last week, I got the hair done nice and special just for him today to show it off. But look, in all seriousness, good weekend for sports for the most part. Quiet because of no football. But this Sunday coming up, Super Bowl 55. It's going to be a fun one.
Well, real quick, Zach, before we go, there was a funny picture that you sent to me that I'm going to bring up. And ladies, do you have the visor with you?
I don't. I mean, I forgot. I do have an Eagles visor. I do my impressions. It was Doug Pearson. I guess now it's Nick Sirianni, which, we got a lot to talk about with him today because he had quite the exciting entrance into Philadelphia. But we'll break that all down just a little bit.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Zach lets his beard grow out for a little bit. I call him Zach Sirianni, everybody. All right, he's calling the new offensive plays here. He's calling the plays on the More Philly Sports Talk Show. He calls the shots, and we roll with it. But no, you're going to see why a little bit later. I'm not fond of this guy, but go on.
Look, we'll break it all down. I mean, we didn't bring him in to be a public speaker. We brought him in to be a head coach. We will have different takes on that. I do have a couple of different unique takes, a couple of different approaches on it. At the end of the day, give the guy a chance is kind of the message. But at the same time, I don't think there's any problem pointing out potential flaws down the road. But with that being said, Gavin, probably the most exciting team in Philly right now, I would say, it is the Flyers, but they have been a little too close to call. But the Sixers last night, it was a dead game for them. They had no right being in that. They were down 18 going into the fourth quarter, I think. They went on a 31-5 run or 31-6 run. They ran 2-3 zone, which was executed just beautifully. You couldn't score on it. You were forcing Miles Turner to put up threes before he fouled out. The Sixers came back, and they beat the Pacers by 9. And on top of all of that, the Nets, with the worst defensive rating in the history of the NBA, complemented by the best offensive rating in the history of the NBA.
Yeah, I had to defend
lost last night to Washington in a way they really shouldn't have. They were up 2 possessions, and they had the ball back. They could have gotten the foul, went to the line, but they gave up the ball, and Russell Westbrook drained a clutch 3. I don't think I'll ever say that again. But that was an interesting game last night. We'll get to that, but let's break it down. The Pacers had a really strong night. Sabonis was kind of irrelevant, honestly, but Brogdon and the younger Holiday brother were knocking down shot after shot after shot. And it's very frustrating to watch when you're a Sixers fan because it happens all the time. But coaching won you that game last night. Doc Rivers put this team in the perfect situation to play great defense. And then he had quite the lineup. And he had Furkan Korkmaz in over Seth Curry. I believe that was more for defensive purposes. But even shots, Furkan Korkmaz looks great this year. The handles look great. The defense actually looks good. He looks physically bigger. And he was knocking down a few clutch shots towards the end there. Of course, Matisse Thybulle had a 3 as well as a dunk or 2. A couple free throws at the line for him as well. He went 2 of 2 at the line. This team looked really good yesterday. Ben Simmons looked really aggressive. In the fourth quarter specifically, they looked great. And that game last night is the most impressive win to date. It puts momentum in place that you can win without number 21 in. Early in the game, it did solidify your MVP case for Joel Embiid, but again, you got a tough stretch coming up. Again, you play Charlotte this week, and then you play Brooklyn, which is going to be the biggest challenge yet, in my opinion, at least, besides the Lakers. And you beat the Lakers. So I think that this team, who is 2.5 games up right now, they need to be able to continue this. I saw a power ranking from Bleacher Report that had them at number 1. I don't agree with that. I like where they are at 3 on most. It goes, I think it goes Clippers, Lakers, Sixers, Jazz, or it might be Clippers, Lakers, because the Lakers dropped back to back. With all that being said, 3 to 4, I like that. I like they're the best team in the East on the power rankings. They should be. They have no reason to prove otherwise. Gavin, what are some of your thoughts from this game last night in Indiana?
You're down by 20, Zach, and you come back to win by 9. Ladies and gentlemen, what was criticism on games like this where there's no Joel Embiid? Ben Simmons, you had to be that guy that dropped 20 points. All right, you and Tobias Harris had to carry the load. Tobias had 27. Ben had 21, 6, 7, 4, and 2. Zach, why I read off more of his stats? Because I'm going to talk about the 4 and 2. 4 steals, 2 blocks. And normally, Zach, they come in clutch moments where Ben Simmons shines his best. Zach, he didn't go for a triple-double last night. He went for the win. He didn't go about his personal stats. He said, you know what? I have to score. Zach, if this Ben Simmons guy comes out and continues to dominate like this without Joel Embiid, and then when Joel Embiid's here, yes, I get it. I don't want to say the third option after behind Tobias Harris, but Zach, you could get yours. Zach, I said it multiple times. You are 6'10". Not every team has a 6'10" person that can keep up with you at the point guard position. Zach, nobody does. Maybe LeBron James or, Jason Tatum or give or take Kevin Durant. Kevin is 7 foot, but Liz is 6'11". But Zach, you can score at ease, and it's going to take another team's power forward or perhaps their center on some nights to guard you, and they can't do it. So your lack of aggression really does matter. All right, Zach, he was aggressive last night. We did what he asked for. Zach, Steph Curry had an off night, 9 points. Furkan Korkmaz came in with 17, and Dwight Howard had 11 and 15. Zach, it doesn't get any better than that. But my major takeaway is we talked about James Harden trade. Brooklyn's defense, before the trade, they were ranked higher, top 15 you would say in defense efficiency?
They also had a bench.
they also had a bench. Zach, now they're ranked, third to last and 27. Zach, you trade, yes, the offensive power. Zach, I love offense. All right, it's the best thing in every sport, offense, because points are put up and amazing plays are made. But defense wins championships. Zach, the Golden State Warriors had a top 5 defense when they won their championship.
And the Lakers were ranked best last year.
And the Lakers were ranked best last year. And Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors had a great defense as well. Zach, that's what it takes to win championships. Yes, I get it. Offense. Sometimes offense does matter. Zach, you look at, give me an offensive power team. You look at like a team like the Chiefs, right? I know this is football, but the Chiefs, their offense is way better than their defense. But Zach, their defense gets the job done too.
Their defense lost them the game against New England a few years ago.
Exactly. And Zach, so no matter how many offensive powers you have, and Matt Barnes said it best, putting up 150, 130 plus points a night gets tiring after a while.
Exactly. Look at the playoffs. Look at the Raptors Sixers game 7, 92-90. Look at the game 7 of the Warriors series in 2016. It was 93-89. I mean, you can't sustain this rate. And there was no James Harden last night. That's fine. But going into the season, the Nets were the favorite, which is Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Joe Harris had 30 points last night. You got nothing from your bench. This is not sustainable. Not only am I worried about that on the court, the defensive aspect, again, the off-the-court issues will still linger. And what does a loss like that last night emotionally for a guy like Kevin Durant against Russell Westbrook? I mean, what does that do to your team in the locker room? Are they throwing chairs in there after the game saying, how did we lose this game? Steve Nash doesn't have the maturity and the experience to be able to fix this. He doesn't. As much as I love him, I like his simplicity. You don't have the talent there. If you had Jared Allen still at that center position,
that's the one that hurt.
One guy. If you bring in Andre Drummond, I said this last night. I tweeted it that they're one piece away, and Andre Drummond could be that piece. It seems like it, but again, 150 points is tiring. I mean, I said last night going into that game, this game's going to be 300 points and in regulation, and I was right. Right before 300 points, I would have taken the over easily. So I think at the end of the day, defense is going to be important. Look at the Sixers last night. They gave up 15 fourth-quarter points, a total of 1 point between Malcolm Brogdon and Sabonis. That's what is going to win at the end of the day. The Miami Heat got shut down in the NBA Finals defensively. And guess what on top of that? How did the Bucks lose? They ran that zone. The Miami Heat ran that zone against the Bucks, and it completely eliminated Giannis because it forced him to take outside jump shots consistently. They don't have that experience. I don't recall who their quote unquote defensive coordinator is in Brooklyn. I know they have Mike D'Antoni on the offensive side, but you need to figure out something quickly. You can't just be dropping 150. You're not going to be able to drop 150 a night. Trae Young and them did it last year. They had a top offense. They couldn't respond. They couldn't get what they needed defensively. I think if you get Andre Drummond on paper, it looks good, but again, what do I know? They still have no bench whatsoever. Joe Harris can give you 30 a night, but again, no James Harden last night, starting him at the guard position. So we'll just have to see. And then the ISO ball begins, and when this guy starts falling, I don't trust that the Nets can pick themselves back up.
Zach, real quick, somebody told me that anyone could play defense. Zach, yes, anyone could play defense. Zach, we could play defense. You go like this. But it's also a mindset to want to play defense. I'm not questioning Kevin Durant's ability to play defense. Zach, we know Kevin Durant's defense. He's tall and lanky. That gets him somewhere. All right, he's doing the best he can. Zach, his defense sometimes gets overshadowed because how great of an offensive player he is. But you can draw up all the schemes. And once again, Zach, I watched the All the Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. Matt Barnes said the best. You could draw up all the schemes. You could draw up every zone in the books. But if you don't want to play defense is a mindset. You have to want to stop the person from scoring. You have to want to lock them up. Zach.
There are guys who are physically like Matisse Thybulle had 11 deflections. I'm curious to get the stats on some of the things that aren't calculated, but no, there are guys who can play defense and play it really, really well. You have shutdown corners who might not get noticed because they just take away the best receiver, a guy like Darius Slay. And then you have guys who get interceptions. You think of Stephon Gilmore, a few other guys who just get picks.
Howard.
Yeah, exactly. And you take a look at a guy like Matisse Thybulle who can fill up the stat sheet. And then you have a guy like Ben Simmons who won't always do that. Last night he did. But sometimes he just eliminates Jason Tatum, makes him not that great of a shooter. So I think that if they had Ben Simmons, if you swapped Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving, that team is winning the NBA Finals. If Ben Simmons would be aggressive for that team. It's that simple. It doesn't make Ben a better offensive player than Kyrie, but just defensively, it's night and day. Look, I counted out the Nets early in the year. I've been very adamant about that. I pretty much retracted that after I watched them play the Warriors on Christmas because they looked great. But at the same time, let's see how it goes. It won't shock me if it's a close game, possibly a win for Brooklyn against the Sixers in a few nights. I don't know who's going to stop Embiid right now. We'll get to that when that game is. But with that being said, I'll let you go in a second, Gavin. I don't want to sleep on them. I don't want to be disrespectful. But based on what I'm seeing right now, there's no reason to believe the Nets are getting out of the East.
Well, Zach, I had to disagree with you. I mean, that is the best offense we ever seen, Zach. If they believe it, they can put 150 a night and win, or 130 a night and win.
You can't do it in a 7-game series.
I know. It gets tiring after a while, but Zach, you don't know. You never know. All right, the East is not weak this year, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm always the one that says the East is weak. Zach, we know why. But this year, the East is tough. You got teams that are ready here that are ready to compete. Zach, they're going to have to get some defense. Do I believe they're coming out the East? I don't know. I give them a higher chance than I would say the Sixers are second than the Bucks. But my last point is, you got guys like Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen. Even Michael Jordan was a great defender. Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, all right? I'm going to throw LeBron James in there.
All the greats play defense when it matters.
All the greats play defense when it matters. Anthony Davis. Zach, remember Anthony Davis had a triple-double with blocks? Yeah, triple-double with blocks. Zach, he was sending stuff back.
Take a look at some of these other key players. Look at the top 5 players of all time. Look at Michael Jordan. Look at Kobe Bryant. Look at LeBron. Like, these guys are terrified. The offensive players that go against these guys are terrified. This is why a guy like James Harden, this is why a guy like Kevin Durant, and this is why a guy like Kyrie Irving, they're not ever going to be in that conversation. Don't get me wrong. I love the way Kevin Durant plays this game. But at the same time, like, everyone was terrified to go up against Michael Jordan. If Michael Jordan was on you defensively, it was scary. Him, Rodman, and Pippen.
Rodman.
All top 5 defenders at their positions in that time.
You
got a single one in Brooklyn right now. No matter how advanced the game has gotten with the 3-point line and the high scoring and the more shooting, defense at the end of the day will always win. If you don't believe me, just look at the box scores from the last 5 NBA Finals. Look at the San Antonio Spurs Miami Heat series. Look at the Miami Heat and the Dallas Mavericks series. Look at the Raptors and the Warriors series. They were lower scoring games. You get to the low 100s. 92-90. It took 92 points. That's it to win against the Sixers. It took a lucky bounce too and travel, but all things considered, that was still a pretty good year for the Raptors. But before we get to the Flyers next, you have anything else you wanted to say on this topic?
No, I'm just saying, Zach. You look at Kevin Durant. Like I said, his defense gets overlooked because how great of an offensive talent he is. Zach, we saw him in the finals versus LeBron James. I know LeBron had his points and stuff, but when Kevin Durant can cause a problem with his length and his size, I'm not saying that he's the top of the top, all right? Because we know what Kobe Bryant, we know what Dennis Rodman, especially Dennis Rodman. Oh my Lord, you're not scoring anything. Scottie Pippen too, but we know what these guys bring. LeBron in the chase down, open floor, Anthony Davis in the presence, even Joel Embiid, who doesn't get enough credit for his defense ability. But I wouldn't. But like I said, there's only a defense. You can scheme up everything, Zach. Me and you, we can sit here and think of 100 ways to play defense. But it doesn't matter if you have people that want to actually play it. And have people want Tony Allen. Tony Allen was a great defender. Zach didn't care too much about his offense. He was there for the defense aspect.
I'm not confident the Sixers win last night with James Harden and without Ben Simmons. I'll leave it at that. But that's going to be a conversation that we might come back to if these two teams visit each other in the playoffs. But with that being said, Gavin, let's get to another team in Wells Fargo who should be going on a deep playoff run this year. I'm pretty sure every game the Flyers won last year in that playoff series was in overtime. These past two wins for them over the weekend were in overtime. They hosted the New York Islanders. They won both games. Brian Elliott got the start last night, held their own. They were up 3-1. Farabee had himself a hat trick, his first of his career. And then they go into overtime, and they're able to score late. Some things I saw, they still struggle with the power play. But, again, their offense has been consistent. Their defense is going to continue to be suspicious. But, Gavin, what are some of your thoughts from the weekend?
Zach is the resiliency of the Flyers. Remember, Zach, this is a team that bounced you out of the playoffs. You come back and sweep them in a win. So then when you get a chance to see the team that bounced you out of the playoffs, Zach, that you just want everything to do with them. You didn't take them to a shootout. You beat them in overtime. Zach, you know how I feel about overtime in hockey. All right, I gotta look up the rule book, ladies and gentlemen. That's not my strong suit.
It's just sudden death, first to score, 3-on-3.
So, but Zach, that has to show something. That has to show that they learned that they don't want to be embarrassed against Zach. I remember the narrative. I remember Flyers fans over here trying to bash the team, saying that the bubble was a fluke, that everything they did was a fluke. Zach, what do you do now? You come back home, new season, and you sweep them. Doesn't get any better than that. I don't know what else you can ask for. I will have to see I'm not going to buy into the Flyers just yet. I got to see them versus Tampa. I got to see them versus, the top tier teams. But Zach, if they can beat the top tier teams, then we'll be talking about a different narrative around the Flyers. It's not about how badly the Islanders, embarrassed them last year in the playoffs. It's about how much have they grown this year.
That's a good point. I'll be completely honest. I like a lot of what I've seen on paper from this team. I'll make it very simple. What makes a championship team? A veteran coach, a strong supporting staff, one young superstar, a few rising young stars, an abundance of veterans, and then role players. The Flyers have close to all of that. The X factor, Carter Hart, has struggled this year. They also have a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the puck. I guess that's the terminology you'd use. Yeah, it's not a ball. Defensive side of the puck, they've struggled. But the offense has been there. Carter Hart's been fatigued. He's been struggling. He broke his stick at the end of the game. That shows something to me that I like to see. It shows his competitiveness. When you get a few guys back defensively, I would like to see how they look. They're ranked 12 right now, I believe, if I'm going to check the most recent power rankings, which is right now currently above them is the Florida Panthers, which are pretty much undefeated, given one overtime loss. The Blues, the Stars, Knights, Hurricanes, Maple Leafs, the Lightning, Bruins, Avalanche, Capitals, and then the Canadiens sit at number 1. Here's your test this week. You were saying that a minute ago, Gavin. The Bruins and then the Capitals. Those are two series that you should – I mean, if they go 2-2, I'll be happy. Depending on how you do it, yeah. But I expect – it wouldn't shock me if they drop the first one against Boston and then win the second one. But they're not going to go 3. If they go 3-1, they're good. If they go 4-0, they're going to jump the standings. But a lot of guys banged up. Carter Hart's trying to refine his groove. They have a lot of work to do. But they're winning games. That's all that matters. The results are there. It's not pretty. These are one-score games. You're giving other teams points for free. It's like Oprah at the end of her shows throwing away cars. It's like, oh, you get an overtime loss point. You get an overtime loss point. They're in your division. You can't be giving out points like that. If you can close them out in regulation, that's what you should do. That's what's so funny about hockey is how it works. It's not just record. You have this thing called overtime losses. And let's take a look here. The Islanders now have 2 of those. You got 2 points unnecessarily. They'd be in last place right now if we didn't give those to them. They'd be 6 points tied with the Rangers. You play the Rangers that next series after the Capitals, which currently sit in first place, and the Bruins, who sit right behind the Flyers. They look good on paper right now. The record shows it, but they're still missing a few things for me to sit here and say they should be in the Eastern Conference Final. I said it before the year. They have a lot of work to do. Injuries play a part in that, though.
Zach, for giving out cars, all right? I view the Flyers like Ellen DeGeneres giving out money at the end of every show. Zach, look, the Flyers are gonna be fine, all right. And when it comes to Carter Hart, because I heard the Philly fans doing Philly fan things, bashing the young kid. Zach, 2 years ago we were praising the guy. Now this year we don't like the guy. Hold on, I still like the kid. Zach, what has he done? I mean, yes, everybody struggles. Zach, we all struggle. We're human. Humans struggle. And for him to show his competitiveness, for him to show his frustration, that's only going to show that he's going to be better by the end of the year. Flyers fans, hold on. Just relax, all right? Shut your mouth. Just let Carter Hart figure this out and let him get back. Zach, he's not going to be like a Carson Wentz where he digresses.
Yeah, I mean, look, superstar young. Expectations are high, 21 years old. Philly fans, relax. I know for the Flyers, we've all been anxious over the last few years. You went on a really hot streak 2 years ago, barely missed the playoffs once Hart started. Last year, we know what happened. Everybody's take a step back. Got to relax. Guys are banged up. Defensively, the Flyers have not been sharp at all. You're up 3-1 in a game. You shouldn't really blow that. You should score another goal and back it up as well. But, look, we'll see how this all rolls out. That seems to be the gist of Philadelphia sports. But we've seen with the Sixers, we've seen with the Flyers, we've seen with every team in this city. I know it's been 11 years since you've been to the Stanley Cup. It's been almost that much time the Phillies have made the playoffs, which, speaking of which, coming up after this, the Phillies are running it back. What were the results last year? A sub-500 team. But why am I optimistic that the Phillies will make the playoffs this year? Stay tuned. Here we go. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewer's choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. I mean, on paper, the Phillies are good. I wouldn't disagree with that. Some big things from last year. The pitching was atrocious. The offense was a little more consistent than the year before. It was a short sprint. I'm still confident that if the season played out, they would have made a run for the playoffs. It was only a 60-game season. I'm not worried. But at the same time, the organization has foundational issues. You got another pitcher or so. There's still another starter and another reliever away. You have 2 guys coming off of injury this year. Sir Anthony Dominguez is a good closer when healthy if he decides to show up this year. Yeah, I do think the Phillies go to the playoffs. I think they're a wild card team. I would hope they'd advance to the NLDS. But at the same time, it's been 10 years since the Phillies have made the playoffs. At some point, they have to turn it around. They made moves. You just signed JT to a very friendly contract. You just signed Didi Gregorius to a very friendly contract. You got a 5-year window. I said it, Gavin, 5 years to win the World Series. That's JT's prime. He's getting his 30s. He's only got a few years left. You have Alec Boehm. He's going to have a breakout year. Here's the if. If a guy like McCutchen, the veterans, can stay healthy and be productive. There's 3 ifs here. If Scott Kingery can actually hit a ball, and if Rhys Hoskins can get back to that form he was 2-3 years ago, you go 90 and 60 or something. I don't know. I guess it'd be 90 and 60 if they do an 152-game season, which we'll have to break down.
If they can even agree to that.
MLB's getting drama again. Look, above 500, I expect them 10 to 20 games above 500 if all those work out. If the veterans aren't able to do it, you fall down to maybe 5-10 games over. If Kingery isn't, you're about 5 games over. And if Rhys Hoskins can't be productive, you're at 500 where you've been every year. But those are my 3 keys. And then you blend that with a more supporting staff pitching-wise. Another year under your belt for a guy like Alec Boehm and Bryce Harper getting here in Philly. You got 9 years left on your deal. And then, of course, the best player in baseball, arguably, or at least the best catcher. There's reason for optimism. But again, just like the Las Vegas Raiders, they're fool's gold. They start out hot, but then they fall behind. So we need to make sure that if we're the Phillies, we need to play all year. We have a good coach. The front office is very questionable, but you do have a fair amount of talent. If I'm the Phillies in this offseason, it went from a D- to a B. Just retaining all your starters is a good enough job, but you still have a few pitchers to bring. We had a few underrated guys come in. I hope it works out because every cheap pitcher we brought in who was good on another team has not worked out here. I hope it's different this year. I really hope it is. But those are my three variables for the Phillies to be able to have success this season.
So let me ask you a quick question. All right, you believe in this team right here? This team?
I do. Well,
You do.
there's three variables that need to work. But I will sit here today and say I do confidently think it is more than likely than not that the Phillies will make the playoffs in 2021.
Wait a minute. You believe in this team right here? Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just backtrack. All right. Let me just backtrack. All right, Zach. You're gonna like this. Ready? If the Phillies were a stock, right? Because I'm a Phillies fan, Zach. The last time they've been in the playoffs, I didn't have a beard yet, Zach. We weren't even this tall and we weren't even this old yet. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We look older than the Phillies' last playoff win. Zach, if the Phillies were a stock, I would sell every last bit of it before it drops. Zach, here's the reason why. All right, cool. It's what you named. JT Realmuto came back. Right. All right, that's cool. That's cool. Didi Gregorius, welcome back. All right. All right, I guess Sandy Dominguez wants to play this year. I guess David Robinson is done stealing money from us. Okay, that's nice and all. But everyone else around you got better. Zach, yes, last year was a 60-game season. I get that. Zach, I said teams that only went, like, we saw teams like, the Orioles and Miami make the playoffs because they normally win like 30 to 40 games anyway. So why don't you cut that in half? And, of course, they're going to make the playoffs. Zach, you couldn't even do that. So here's the problem with the Phillies, right? Everyone else got better around them. The Mets, tremendously better. You got Lindor, all right? The Groms here. Noah Syndergaard's coming back better. Zach, I'm pretty sure they got a couple others that's slipping my mind right now. And then you got in Miami, they're gonna get better. They're younger. They're getting more experience. Zach, we already know what the Nationals are going to bring with the three-headed monster and Strasburg and Corbin and Scherzer, and now you got Josh Bell in the offense, and you still got Juan Soto, who apparently loves hitting home runs against the Phillies. Zach, the last Phillies game I went to, Anthony Rendon and Juan Soto, it was a 4th of July game to be exact, where they had fireworks, Zach, and guess what happened? They broke the heart and they ruined the whole mood of the fireworks show, Zach, because they came back and won in the 9th. All right, having said all that, then you got Atlanta. Zach, I didn't even have to talk about Atlanta. It's like they were what, 1 game away from going to the World Series. Zach, what they do? They're getting their pitcher back. They're getting Mike Soroka back. I'm pretty sure people that opted out last year are coming back. Oh, and by the way, Zach, let's just get technical again real quick. They got Charlie Morton joining that. They got another pitching crew. Ronald Acuna is better. Freddie Freeman is fantastic. So, but you want to talk about the Phillies. All right, Zach, you know what made me feel good about the Phillies? You talk about they're 1 starter away, and they're one or two relievers away, Zach. Go get Trevor Bauer. Go get him. You got your catcher. Go get Trevor Bauer. Then you have a 3-headed monster down there. Zach, we saw pitching wins championships. Look, Zach, look at what happened to the Nationals. They had no business in being the Astros that year, but they had a 3-headed monster. They won. Their offense was subpar, but they got the job done. Anthony Rendon, Juan Soto that year. So what happened last year, Zach? The Dodgers were a monster. Zach, I get it. But they also had a great pitching core, Kershaw and Buehler, and they had a bullpen that you could believe in. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know Randy Arozarena running around the whole bases at the end of the game. I get it. That was unlucky. But, Zach, here's the end result. This Phillies team won't do anything again this year. And that irritates me because it's ruining the reputation of Joe Girardi. It shows how subpar this franchise is of not wanting to win. And by the way, Zach, the night that they got, what was it, Didi Gregorius back or was it JT Realmuto? I can't forget the day because it doesn't matter no more. You know why? Because that same day, whatever day that was, the Cardinals just got Noah Arenado. Oh, and San Diego is going to be way better this year. So not only you have to compete with the Dodgers, the Braves, and most likely the Padres now, but the Cardinals got better. Zach, you are falling behind, and the Mets are going to be a problem this year too. I don't get it. This franchise, I've never seen a franchise okay with being losers. I've never seen it before. I don't get it. I really don't get it. This is the process gone wrong. You can't do anything right. All right, you're being robbed of money. Jake Arrieta's still here, which I don't know why. You're bringing hope in Scott Kingery, who's garbage and should have been traded away. when he had value, I don't think you can get anything from him now. If the only thing I have hope for is Trevor Bauer magically coming here. That's all I ask for. That's all I want now. If you get Trevor Bauer here, I will sing a different tune. I won't be happy, but I'll sing a different tune.
It's not a little move to bring back a shortstop who was a consistent hitter and the best catcher in baseball. It's not a little move. I get your frustration. I share it when it comes to the front office. But again, you have a great manager. And at the end of the day, if you have a great manager and you have 3 or 4 great foundational pieces, it's going to work. At the moment, you have 2.5. You have JT, Bryce, and you have half of Rhys Hoskins. If he shows up this year, and if Alec Boehm is able to show up, and of course I can throw Aaron Nola in there as a foundational piece as long as he's able to return this year to the form that he was. You're judging this team last year with some of their pieces and new management. We're judging them based off of a pandemic season that the World Series is heavily asterished. Sorry, Dodgers. We're talking about a short season, over 100 games less, the shortest season percentage-wise to any other sport. And on top of all of that, there's no fans. You're playing just your division. You have limited travel. There's too many factors here to sit here and say this team is just terrible. We didn't get to see the full potential of this team gel together. You're right. When every team in the NL gets better, it makes you pretty sad. But dang it, bringing back the best catcher in baseball does make you better.
It does. It does.
Bringing in a few assets, yes. Bringing in a few assets is great. Look, you missed out on Blake Snell. You missed out on Yu Darvish. All right, the Padres are here for real. The Phillies are not the best team anywhere near it in their division. They're not the best team in this league, referring to the National League, and they're nowhere near the best in the MLB. But can they be a top 10 team? That's fringe. Can they make the playoffs, though? I confidently think so. That it shouldn't be that hard to make the playoffs. You go 10 games above 500, you're in the playoffs. All right? You're going to have a full season for the most part, unless the MLB can't figure stuff out, which wouldn't shock me, as we covered way back when. On top of all of that, though, you have pieces, but we're making huge bets here. All right, we got 90% of our investment in Rhys Hoskins and Scott Kingery. We got 10% they got Alec Boehm, but we're pretty confident that he'll be able to bounce out and show up. All right, we need to relax, I think, as Phillies fans. It's hard with all these guys going on. You have Nolan Arenado being dealt out, but you have Alec Boehm. You tell me that you're going to bring in Arenado over Boehm? I mean, it seems like a common sense answer. He's probably one of the best third basemen in baseball. That's what he did in Colorado. But you're also betting that Boehm can take that additional step up, and he should have been in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. The 3rd overall pick from a few years ago. You still have your 1st overall pick, Mickey Moniak, which I don't know what he's really been doing, but there's a lot of bets on the table. And if they pay off, this team is going to be good. But again, I get it's frustrating. I know it's stressful. But remember what this team went through in order to get the 4 aces. Remember what this team went through to try to be a powerhouse following their World Series win. It took a long time to rebuild from that, and it was a horrible decision. But now you got 5 years to get it done. With JT here, I like where the Phillies are going. It is very frustrating when teams not only in your league but in your division are getting significantly better. But these are not basement dwellers at all. This is a team that will be above 500 this year, and I confidently think we'll at least make a wild card game and possibly an NLDS appearance.
But Zach, here I get that. All right, I want the Phillies to win, but the frustration. I'll be okay if they go all in and win. And then be Zach. That's the meta now. You saw it. The Dodgers went all in multiple times. Manny Machado. All right. Then you had Yu Darvish. All right. They went all in. They didn't win. What they do? They went all in one more time. They get Mookie.
They have no hard salary cap, so it's easy to come back from that.
Zach, if you are the Phillies, all I'm asking for, because Zach, you know it. The Phillies gotta be. All the Philly teams, I was like, this is probably the second most passionate team I'm passionate about. All right, Zach, we all love baseball. I get into baseball a little bit more around June, July. That's when it's high outside, because that's when baseball is supposed to be played. The fact of the matter is, you don't know how depressing it is. And you do know, actually. But for those who aren't not Phillies fans or don't really mind, you don't understand how depressing it is to go to a hitter-friendly ballpark, right? And the reason why I say hitter-friendly, you don't understand why you go to a hitter-friendly ballpark and then watch every other team have success in your ballpark who come here maybe, once a year? And you play here every year. You are here. This is your ballpark, and you don't have success. Zach, This is art besides the Yankees, and anyone could correct me if I'm wrong. There's another one. Besides the Yankees, this is second best ballpark when it comes for if you're a hitter. Pitcher's worst nightmare, but a hitter's best friend. And you can't get the job done. Zach, I want the Phillies to win. I want them to be good. I want to go back to the playoffs. Zach, I want them to go back to the playoffs so I can go to a playoff game just to say I've been to a playoff game. Zach, like I said, the last time we were in the playoffs, I didn't have a beard. Zach, neither did you. Zach, we were in the Y basketball league still, arguing amongst each other. All right, I was a Jordan of the Y league. All right? But here's the thing. We won't get to see that. I don't know when. It's not about the 5-year window, Zach. I agree. It's a 5-year window to get the job done. It's just the fact that the matter is when it comes to whenever they can agree on terms, we know this. We know the Phillies are going to be subpar to average again. And they're the New York Knicks of baseball. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen, especially when it comes to front office.
Well, I think it's more likely than not right now the Knicks do make the playoffs, but not by much. I am confident in that, though. I think the AT could be possible for them. They have some good pieces. Julius Randle's a top 5 power forward, right. But not to get too distracted from that, I'm going to hold my ground here. I'm confident the Phillies can make a run, but it's about that September collapse. The past 2 years, 3 years,
it's the August
they've been a playoff team until September. You avoid that crash, you go to the playoffs. It's that simple. You got a new manager. You got a new GM, barely, but we have a new GM, a new vice president of baseball operations. You have a new manager from last year who gets a year to assimilate. And again, with the pandemic, it was tough. It still is. With all that being said, I am confident this team will pull out, not winning the East, but definitely as a wild card team. It's about that September collapse.
Zach, real quick, you talk about September collapse. I'll never forget the year where it was the Phillies and the Braves neck and neck, Zach. It was the Phillies, and this is the year the Nationals that you won. It was the Phillies and the Braves. You were guys neck and neck, and Washington, I would say, was what, second to last place, all right, or third to last.
They got hot at the end,
and they got really hot. And when they got hot, Zach, the Braves they cooled off, but they were still hot. Zach, in August they went cold, and again, guess what, Zach? At late September, when there's like 3 weeks left of the season, the Phillies want to get hot again. You can't do that. Zach, you talk about a September collapse. Let's get technical. It's the August collapse because it's every year at the same time. They do the same
going
thing.
Into that part of the year, we think they're going to make – last year I thought they'd make the playoffs until that collapse.
60 games. I mean,
last year a 3-game winning streak put you in first place. So I think it was definitely a tough circumstance. It's about that collapse. If they avoid it, they go to the playoffs. I think they will this year. Gavin, anything else you want to say here before we get to arguably the biggest news of the weekend?
April. The Phillies, and I will never forget this, April, Bryce Harper's first year. They were undefeated, right?
Number 1 in the power rankings after 1 week.
Number 1 in the power rankings. Never thought I'd ever see that. Then you go May, kind of starting to cool off. Then June, I don't even know where the hell the team is. July, they're starting to find their identity again. And then August, it's over. It's over. That's what I call the Phillies season over. It's August. Because after that, they don't win. They don't win no more. They're allergic. Zach, I talk about I need to get Draymond Green a shot for his jump shot. We need to find a vaccine for the Phillies to win in the month of August. Is it too hot? Is that the problem? All right, mercy. I don't know. Figure this out.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that when the organization is as broken as it's been, then you have these issues. Organizations do win championships in baseball. I do think so. Watch Moneyball if you don't believe me. Of course, they never were able to come out on top, but all things considered, Oakland did a pretty dang good job at rebuilding that team. But baseball is a difficult sport. It's so long. You just have to be able to avoid that September collapse. We'll continue to cover pitchers and catchers a week or two away. I'm going to try to get down. If they do have fans this year, Gavin, I do want to make a trip down to Clearwater. I've got some other reasons to be in Tampa as well. So I'd love to go visit, watch some games, get some autographs from guys who I'll probably never hear of, but always a fun trip down there, business trip for sure. But let's get to it. The big news of the weekend. I was just relaxing. I get the news pushed through my phone. It was very shocking. I will say that. I know there have been rumors that Jared Goff has not been playing to satisfactory for that team. I thought the system worked really well for him there. This was a shocker to me. I thought Indianapolis was the team, and this has big implications for the Eagles, by the way, for those who were wondering. This does have my confidence in Carson Wentz being the starter week 1 has went down significantly. We'll get to that in a little bit with the Eagles, of course. Poor coach Nick Sirianni had himself a tough start in Philly. But
Adam Gase 2.0, ladies and gentlemen.
let's get down to business with this. That was a big trade. That was a big ask. What, 2 first-round picks and a third rounder, I think, and Jared Goff in return for Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford will be taking snaps for the Rams next year. Went to the same high school as Clayton Kershaw. They're both chilling out in LA. I thought that was a cool fact to add in there. Does this make the Rams an instant contender?
Zach, you got teams like the 49ers who are going to come back healthy. All right, I don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to go there or not. You got teams like I don't know if Drew Brees is going to be there. Most likely not, but you still got the Saints. You got the defending NFC champions. You got Aaron Rodgers. But the Rams are up there. Zach, I don't know where you put them at, but they're up there. Zach, Matthew Stafford is a great talent. It's a shame he spent all that time in Detroit. A lot of people will say that Calvin Johnson is the reason why his success. Zach, I don't disagree. When you have a freak like Calvin Johnson, you just throw the ball, he'll catch everything. But here's what people
had a lot. I mean, Detroit had a lot of offensive talent this year, though, I do have to say.
They did. So, Zach, when you have a guy in Matthew Stafford, after Calvin Johnson, he put together a couple of nice little seasons where, yes, they didn't win, but, Zach, he looked good himself. Zach, there's a stat. When a QB has a QBR or a completion of 70% or better, or QBR of 70% or better, they will most likely win 70% of their games. Zach, the Lions only won 30% of their games this year, and Matthew Stafford did have the 70. Zach, this man played through 3 injuries. Damn near shouldn't have played in the last one, but he came out and played.
Tough guy. I just agree with you there. Tough guy.
And Zach, there's nothing else you can ask for Matthew Stafford. Model citizen, great guy, great person. Never got to meet him, but from what I hear around everybody, great person. Great football player too, Zach. Have you ever watched the Lions game in depth where, yes, they may lose, but it's how they're losing. It's defense.
Usually no. Detroit is one of the most unlucky, them in Cleveland, unlucky franchises out there. I mean, there was turmoil this year there. O-line wasn't great. Defense was monumentally horrible. On top of all of that, you have Kenny Golladay out. When Kenny Golladay was healthy, they were, 4-0, I think. I don't think they lost a game with Golladay. You had Marvin Jones, Marvin Hall. You have DeAndre Swift. Now you go to a team that has a better O-line, same to better weapons, and a much better coach and a much better run franchise.
Zach,
the salary cap is deadly. I'll get to that in a sec, Evan, but the salary cap for them is deadly. They'll figure it out. You always do. And they have the best defense in the league.
Zach, there's another major stat I want to point out. Matthew Stafford, and the one time he went to the playoffs, he only had a top 5. He only had a top 10, top 5 defense once in his whole entire career. You put him with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald on the other side of the ball with Darius Williams and Leonard. Please. Give him a defense.
He's only 32. That gives you 4 years. Or he's on a 2-year deal. He has not signed an extension yet. But it's quite possible that he would if they have a good year. I don't see them winning the Super Bowl next year, but it does make the Rams a top team in even their division. I see them favored right now. If anything, it would not shock me. As I said this year, if all 4 teams in the West make the playoffs next year, but watch out for Seattle being dead last in that division. They'll still be above. They'll probably be 10-6, but that might not be enough to even get to 3rd place. But let's talk about the other side of this trade. Detroit, who, in my opinion, won this trade. You just got 2 extra first-round picks. That's easy money for an aging vet, and you have a guy who you know can play well in a system, or you can even move if you want. The contract is horrible, but look at what else you got. I think Detroit won this trade. You gave away way too much. If you're the Rams, they're going all in here. I'm curious what else they'll try to do. Of course, with Ramsey and Donald getting older, you're going to want to be able to win now. Jared Goff is no scrub. He's not. He's not. As much as he's being paid, yes, relatively speaking. But he's a system quarterback. I don't trust that they're going to have the right system there. I think it's going to be a disaster. But they won this trade with the extra first-round picks that they got. As far as rapid success or instant success, the Rams will obviously have more. I don't know what the Lions are going to do, but interesting decision that they wanted to get Jared Goff in that trade. And interesting the comments that he made that he did not feel appreciated in LA. I'm curious if there's more that will come out after that.
Well, Zach, here's the reason why. I'm gonna answer that last part first. Zach, what did I say? I think this was before the show even started. I said Jared Goff's best year was when before Todd Gurley got arthritis in his knees. All right, that was the year. I think they went to the Super Bowl. And we all know it happens to Todd Gurley's knees, and then after that, it wasn't the best. Jared Goff, they ended up. I think they missed playoffs that year. The year before, they cut Matthew Stafford. Oh yeah, that's the year where they got Jalen Ramsey and missed playoffs. Zach, you pay him after he gets literally a free ride off Todd Gurley. You pay him, and he doesn't do much after that. Zach, it took you to pay him. He got the most guaranteed money ever in NFL history as a quarterback. So there's 20 other quarterbacks I can name that deserve that title than him. He doesn't deserve it. And arguably, Zach, he needs to give $20 million to Todd Gurley because of that. But Zach, if you look at what went down and you look at how things transpired, Zach, Jared Goff was never the guy there. That was Jeff Fisher's product. I don't think they ever really wanted him there. All right. After you lose, right, to the playoffs, Zach, you have Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, the best defense in the NFC West, right? You lose to the Jets horribly, all right? And then you also you have to start a backup quarterback in for a plug-in. Yes, Zach, I know the finger injury, but Zach, Jared Goff was nothing special at all this year. Let's be honest. Nothing special. Cam Akers running the football, and everybody else in that defense kept Jared was hiding the real fact that Jared Goff is trash. So what happens then? You go to Green Bay. He has to start. What happened in Green Bay? It's like, oh, not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. If you're Jared Goff,
dropped, what, 23 points? Their defense could not keep up with the Packers.
Okay, fair enough. But Zach, it's been the same story for Jared Goff. It's the same story. Zach, go back to the Super Bowl year, right? Who was that guy in the Super Bowl year? It sure so wasn't Jared Goff. It was Todd Gurley. When have we ever looked at Jared Goff and said, you know what, you were that guy? We never did that. We never did that at all. So here's my final argument on Jared Goff. Zach, you talk about the Rams gave too much. I think they did too when it comes to the pick aspect. Zach, you know, I don't like giving up first round picks. I'll give anything but a first rounder. Well, multiple first rounders. But Zach, if you're the Lions, you lost this trade because you're going to be trash for 2 years, which you're not going to be able to fix overnight. But Zach, at the end of the 2 years, and the reason I say 2 years, Zach, after 2 years of Jared Goff's contract, you can move him and he won't cost you a dime. Do it.
I'd give them a shot this year. I don't disagree with you on that. I don't even know what their backup quarterback situation looks like.
Devin Hodges, right?
Is that what it is? I'm not sure. I'll have to check up on that, but they're not making the playoffs this year. I'm not too high on Detroit anymore. But that was why I was high on them last year. I like Matt Stafford a lot. He's a Ram now.
Oh, and you don't have Marvin Jones anymore, by the way. He's leaving.
Marvin Jones is a free agent as well. Eagles could sign him. I like him. But let's talk about the Eagles. Not yet the big story of the weekend, but let's talk about what does this mean. Number one, the Colts are still in the market for a quarterback. Number two, reports are coming out that they are interested in Carson Wentz. And number three, a contract that big can be moved. So there's a chance, more likely today than not, that Carson Wentz could be moved. Again, the Eagles are doing whatever they can to give him all the supporting staff. But if you get enough offered to you, how do you turn that down? If you're the Eagles I'm referring to, from the Colts.
Like if the Colts come to me and say, you know what, I'll give you a first-round pick and second round of next year or whatever, I don't know, picks.
Maybe Xavier Rhodes, I don't know.
Xavier Rhodes or like a Malik Hooker or somebody. I know they're not going to do that, but
they're not going to do that.
You're not going to do that, but
maybe if they bundle a second and a fourth or fifth and him, but they don't want to touch those guys. They might give you Rhodes. I take Rhodes, him and Slay in the defensive backfield. I like that a lot.
But if they give you a first-round pick for Carson Wentz, first of all, that's a steal, all right, because he didn't have anything. But, Zach, if you're the Colts, I would call the Texans first. Why would I call the Texans?
Wouldn't happen in a division.
Well, I know. But, Zach, I would call the Texans first. You never know. And that's a funny story. I know we got that up next. But, Zach, call the Texans first because he's the better quarterback out of Carson Wentz right now. Deshaun Watson is better than Carson Wentz at this moment in time, right now. All right, Lauren, we can now. If you want to go deeper, maybe we can figure out argument for Carson Wentz.
Now, and then Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz.
But if you want to get a quarterback and make sure you have one for next year, just get Carson Wentz right now. Zach, and you know how I am. Start young. Let's rebuild. Zach, maybe that might fix our cap crisis that's going on. Zach, I don't know. I'm not best with money and cap room and all that fun stuff. You know, we're learning it. Zach, if you could do that, maybe you might be able to bring some pieces around Jalen Hurts. Maybe, Zach, that's what they did for Patrick Mahomes. He came in. There's pieces. They keep bringing on pieces for him. I don't know. Go get yourself a Chris Godwin. Go get yourself Allen Robinson here if you get rid of Carson Wentz.
Look, it's going to be a tricky situation. The only point I wanted to make is that he can be moved. I don't know how I feel about Carson Wentz. I think that honestly, I've had enough with a lot of what Malcolm Jenkins has said about the Eagles the past year or two or year or so. He is obviously not too thrilled with how that situation worked out in Philly. But what he did say about Carson this past weekend, I kind of agree with. Did you have a chance to read up on that, Gavin?
Go ahead. I saw the comments, but go ahead. Go ahead, refresh.
He said, look, the Eagles organization didn't do Carson any justice trying to protect his ego. And I guess I don't know why it didn't help him. And it kind of made him have more leeway, and he wasn't held accountable. And it's not necessarily the person's fault who's being enabled, because they're going to take advantage of whatever opportunity they can. I'm sure he's frustrated. I don't think he's sitting here today happy with how he played this year. I also don't think he was thrilled with how the organization handled it. If you bring accountability and you surround him with the right pieces, I have no doubt in my mind he can work here. At the same time, if you can get a first-round pick, if you surround Jalen Hurts with the right pieces and the right coaching, then you could possibly do that. But there's the next question, the right coaching. Coming up after this, we have to wrap up an interesting weekend for head coach Nick Sirianni, as well as talk about the Deshaun Watson situation. Stay tuned.
Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
I said in the beginning of the show, Nick Sirianni is not being hired to be a PR representative. He is being hired to be the head coach. After his semi-disastrous opening remarks this weekend, a lot of players on the Colts, I think Darius Leonard had come out, a couple guys came to his defense. I think that says a lot. Can he coach? That's going to be the question. But I am going to say something today. Honestly, I'm not thrilled with a lot of the words going around with Nick Sirianni. The reason for that, and Gavin, I imagine, will definitely continue to talk about it. A lot of it is because of the frustration that both Deuce Staley had left Philly and that Eric Bieniemy hadn't gotten a head coaching job before him. As much as I might sit here and agree on some of those aspects and whatever reasoning was given for him, and not having the best interview this weekend, I do think it's incredibly disrespectful to knock down another person who had nothing to do with the reason that Bieniemy or Staley didn't get promoted or hired. As much as I respect those pieces, and much as I might be upset with some of the lack of diversity, again, should never be at the forefront of a coaching hire, but definitely when you're the number one offense in the league, and you also never call plays as well as the guy Nick Sirianni, I understand it. And we've broken it down before, and we will continue to give that the attention it deserves. With all that being said, though, I do think that you should not knock down Sirianni, because you don't advance yourself knocking down others. You advance yourself by pulling yourself up. And that's just kind of how I feel about that. With it being said, Gavin, I'm curious to get some of your remarks on that before we get into arguably what it was not a very good opening start for the head coach in Philly.
Well, Zach, you know what I said on this. When it comes to the head coaching hire, I was not fond of it, Zach. The reason why I was fond of Deuce Staley, yes, Zach, I know he didn't have an offensive coordinator job position here, but Zach, if you're gonna bring Deuce Staley as a head coach here, the reason why is he was well respected, he was well liked by majority of everybody, even past Eagles players such as Malcolm Jenkins and some others were all for Deuce Staley getting the job here. So the reason why I was on that front, because of that, he couldn't get a head coaching job anywhere else, but right here, all right. Right here, and you hire some coordinators around him, make Deuce a personnel guy. I get that. But Eric Bieniemy, I don't know how many boxes you have to check off, Zach. I really don't understand it. I mean, Zach, is there a personality box? Everybody, when it comes to a head coach, especially with him, top 5 offense the last 3 years. Yes, I know Zach, Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, but like I said, Zach, it don't matter. You could have the best of the best players doing it, but if your system doesn't work well either, it won't matter. Zach, he's qualified to be a head coach. All right, this was the best spot for him here. I'm not going to knock somebody else's, as another person for something that had no idea or no saying. how the decision process goes down, because Nick Sirianni didn't have a say and say, I don't want him to get the job, because I'm sure that's not how it goes. Zach, you're trying to get the same job as he's trying to get. So to blame, Nick for getting a job that I wanted Eric to be enemy to have, you can't do that. That's not Nick's fault. But here's what I will say. Opportunities for a guy like that, like Nick, like himself, don't magically appear for others. Zach, we know this, all right? We know it magic doesn't fall. Steve Nash came out and said, I know what happened, all right? And he knows it. Steve Nash was able to recognize it because, Zach, we said the same thing. Not one coaching experience for Steve Nash randomly falls in the job when you got guys like Mark Jackson and others that could get one. But, Zach, when it comes to Nick Sirianni, my only criticism is, what do you have? We know a guy with a top 5 offense. We know all that, Zach. But what do you have to offer? I'm gonna be really critical of this man this year, Zach. Not because of the lack of diversity in this hiring and process and all that, Zach. I'm gonna call my criticism fair. I'm gonna go by offensive rank, Zach. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go by the offensive numbers. I'm gonna go by where does your offense rank and where does his rank next year, and then let's revisit this conversation. I'm not gonna sit here and go, well, he should have got this because of this. No, I'm not doing that, ladies and gentlemen. We gotta stop doing that sometime. But I'm Zach. Like we said, we call it fair here. All right, that's what we do. We're gonna call it fair. We're gonna call BS when we see it, and we're gonna call real when we see it. Zach, I want to see his offensive numbers at the end of the year. I want to see Nick Sirianni's offensive numbers at the end of the year, and I want to see where they rank. If they're better than where Doug Pearson had us, and if Eric Bieniemy's top 5, if he's better than Doug Pearson, I'll say that. But if he's just as bad or equivalent to Doug Pearson, then I'm gonna have a serious problem.
If you draft Justin Jefferson, you draft DK Metcalf, and you hire Eric Bieniemy, this team could probably be a contender next year. I'll leave it at that. And that is not anyone on the field's fault. It's the front office's fault. We'll continue for that. That's where the issue lies with me.
And also too, ladies and gentlemen, it just goes to show I'm not trying to make a case because Eric Bieniemy's being black. I'm also making a case for his stats. Zach, we saw it, top 5 offense every year. What else do you want?
Well, if you're gonna take an offensive coordinator who's never called plays, why not take the most successful one? That's my only argument. That's all it is. You took the risk and took an offensive coordinator who hasn't called plays. Why not go with the one who statistically has had the better year?
I feel like Zach. I feel like when Eric Bieniemy didn't get, I feel like in the AFC Championship game, one of these playoff games, I really feel like Eric Bieniemy was calling plays. One of these past 2 games, I feel like it was, because that's what Andy Reid does. Andy Reid will make a point. Andy Reid, first one to say, he was upset he wasn't hired. Zach, we heard the comments, but I know we got to go pretty soon. But we're gonna pick this up another day, for sure.
The Eagles took a big risk taking in a 39-year-old head coach who's loved by his players. Let's see what he can do. I think it's unfair to him to not give him a fair chance because of the frustration surrounding other situations. I wish him the best. The interview was interesting. The John Clark interview following that was a little more laid back and casual. I don't care about your personality, honestly. Can you coach and can you connect with your players? That's all that matters. We will break that down in the season. Again, the Super Bowl still has yet to happen. So next season barely has even started for at least 2 teams so far. But we're going to wrap up today.
It's just the obvious. Sorry, Coach. It's just the obvious pick, Zach. You got a guy that's
the trend in Philly that has become a trend.
You can't pick. You got offense coordinator that won the Super Bowl, top 5 offense, and all that good stuff, versus a guy that barely called any offensive plays. I'm gonna be fair about my criticism, Zach. I'll be fair about it. But let's just see where everybody ends up at the end of the year.
And then, of course, finally today, Deshaun Watson continuing to say he wants out, but the Texans, who do have a fair amount of leverage, made it clear they have no intention of this. Gavin, how do you see this going down over the next few months?
It's going to be whoever wants to make it more uglier. Zach, what I mean by that is who's going to sit here and be like, I'm going to make the situation worse than it is. You got both sides saying what they're going to say, but who wants to take the cheap shot? Who wants to take the final punch? Who wants to take the end game? The factor is that we heard Jamal Adams be pretty vocal about wanting to get out. We heard Jalen Ramsey being vocal getting out. James Harden. All right, we heard James Harden wanted to get out. It's just how badly do you want to get out to Deshaun Watson, and how badly of a head case you're going to be to this front office. You haven't spoke to him. I don't know how much you have to do. That's just me.
As it continues to roll out, it's going to get uglier. But with that being said, that is going to wrap up today's show on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. We'll be back tomorrow to continue to break it down for those out there in this nor'easter. Stay safe. I can hear it through my window. I'm not sure how ugly it's gotten, but with that being said, again, thank you everyone for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the 1 hour edition of the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show.
It's been a while since we did one. Have a good one, everybody. Stay safe.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live